speaking on the phone is nerve-wracking. I hate it. I hate speaking on the phone to people. I'd much rather text or email in this day and age.
Yeah, for sure. No, I totally agree. But I wasn't even talking on the phone. It was like the live chat text thing, and I was doing it for probably like 90 minutes before we could like end the conversation and like fix the problem. And about half hour into it, my palms were like sweating, and I was thinking in my head, I'm like, you need to hurry up with your responses because I am about to throw up. And I was like, I had visions of myself bent over the toilet throwing up, but like tapping over to the side with this chat agent. But I don't know why it was.
That is vile.
Well, no.
Maybe you were just nervous.
No, it was, my back was so sore and I'd just taken some medicine for it and I'd had a nap, but it was like a 5 o'clock nap. And you know, when you wake up feeling super groggy.
Yes, I do.
It was like a barrage of menial inconveniences all hitting me at once. And I think I was just overwhelmed. So, yeah. Are you done?
I just did a proper Corona cough to kind of clear my throat, and I feel much better.
Good.
I would recommend it for everyone, but I did mute myself.
Yeah.
Before I did it, as is the polite thing to do.
What's our safe word if I, feel like I'm going to throw up again?
How about, hey guys, I feel like I'm going to throw up, and then just, I feel like that kind of is fine. We don't need to worry about code words. It's not like...
It's not very catchy.
Yeah, you're right. What about code olive? Because olives taste like vomit anyway.
No, they don't. Olives are dumblit.
Olives are dumblit. I had some last night. I had too many last night.
Yeah. just too many olives. Not too much of anything else.
No, too many olives.
Just olives.
Red wine.
James, what were you doing on the night of Friday the 27th of November 2020 when you should have been locked down?
I was at home with my girlfriend watching TV.
Brag.
That is... Brag.
I was at home by myself watching TV.
I was in my room making no noise and pretending I don't exist.
Yeah. Well,
Wait,
I was doing that.
That's Harry Potter, right?
That is Harry Potter.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. Classic D-Rads and all that.
Odd.
Should we start? You guys ready to start?
Yeah, I'm ready to start.
I'm ready whenever you are. Aaron episode.
I don't know whether I've got the strength to carry this. Just been watching loads of Hell's Kitchen lately, and I just think, these guys need to find their voice. They need to lead. Well, now that's me.
Yeah.
Heard Chef Ramsay.
From sous chef to chef.
That's right, executive chef.
My name is Chef.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of There Is a Pod Inside of Mine Boot. I'm joined today by, who are you guys?
I'm Will.
I'm James.
Hi.
My voice didn't crack. That's a great start.
How are you guys doing today? You all right?
I'm doing good. Been very busy for someone who's not allowed to leave their flat.
Yeah, I'm good. Well, I'm not good. I'm hungover and it's getting dark early and that's sad. And doing a podcast, but I have my Christmas tree up. It's very magical in here. It looks nice. So just encapsulating those vibes and riding the wave through this podcast.
Lovely. Less than a month now till Christmas. It's not even December yet. Like, that's early.
That's true.
Well, we're 3 days away.
No, I know. I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying that we normally try to put us up on the first weekend of December. It's my stepdad's birthday on the 1st of December. So that normally lines up. We try and do it then. But obviously it's my first Christmas actually not living at home. So
yeah. I wish I could say it was my first. For the past 4 Christmases, I think I've been working Christmas Day.
Shit, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Damn.
So this is the first Christmas I actually have.
That sucks so bad.
But that's your dedication to the film industry.
Well, I don't know if working in a cinema counts as dedication to the film industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was that one, like, I obviously took a year out of university to work in a film studio. We did some filming on Christmas Eve, very late into the evening in Covent Garden. So that was a nightmare as well. But this is going to be the first Christmas I actually have off properly, like the whole week. And I honestly am so excited for that.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a blessing of working like a more structured job, because growing up obviously doing so much shift work, it's like you have to fight for your right to not work on Christmas like every single year.
Yeah.
There's been like pretty much every job that's been the case for me. definitely when we were at the cinema together, Will. And we were dedicated to the film business. Absolutely dedicated, working until like 2, 3 a.m. some nights.
Most nights.
Bloody scraping up popcorn and all the disgusting, mate, people are grim in cinemas, you know, like some of the things we've seen. We could probably do a whole episode on horrors that we've seen in a cinema.
That's actually a great idea. I would love to do that at some point. That can be like a special.
That would be cool.
And I've never even worked in one, but I've seen just a horror in the cinema, and I don't know if it's worth touching upon. It's
No, let's save it. Let's do an episode.
I do have one horror story I always tell everyone. I'm not going to tell it now. So if you're listening, you're going to have to come back whenever we do this special. But imagine working Christmas Day and someone just absolutely bar humbugging it for everyone. It was the worst shift I ever worked, and it was on Christmas Day.
It's mad. Like I have an actual horror story from that cinema, like a ghost story. Remember?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, all right. Let's
So that's like,
we could do a
mate.
special if James is ever like unavailable. We'll just do a Will and Aaron horror story special
stories from the cinema.
for sure.
Yeah.
you won't be working there this year, so we will be doing this special on Christmas Day to fill that void of not working in the cinema.
Yeah, absolutely. No rest for the wicked.
Only if you promise to make it a nightmare for me.
Yeah, okay.
Oh wow.
James in particular. Christmas, I'm so used to it just being a nightmare now that like I've got to continue that trend, otherwise I won't know what is real and what isn't.
Speaking of the supernatural, there's a nice little figure here for you. What percentage of the UK public believe that they have seen a ghost? 11% or 20%?
20%.
I definitely think it's 20% as well.
Yeah, 20.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll go 11, and then that makes it more of a competition.
What's the winner get? What does the winner get for this?
They get to see a ghost.
You get to see a ghost, baby.
Wait, Will, is that your flatmate?
What? Huh?
Yeah, is that your flatmate over your right shoulder?
No.
No,
It's the ghost of Christmas past.
it's the crow. James, what's the answer, please?
It's 20%.
Yeah, baby, let's go.
1 in 5 people.
1 in 5 people.
See, I'm in a family of 5, and my eldest sister, when we were growing up, was absolutely convinced. We should have done like a Halloween episode. We should have started this earlier. My grandma died, and we got back from the funeral, and it was that evening, and my eldest sister, who at the time must have been like 14, 15, she came into my room and was like, "Grandma's here." And I was like, "No, thank you." That is terrifying. And she still maintains to this day that she saw our grandma in the corner of her room.
That's so cool. I mean, I've got better ghost stories. That's kind of my thing. But the thing is, right, is that we're gonna inevitably down the line talk about plenty of horror films.
Absolutely.
So no doubt we can feed these in. Today, however, the film that we are going to be talking about is In Bruges by Martin McDonagh, released 2008. Boys, we all watched it in a week. I'll ask you what you think in just a minute. I'm just going to do a little quick whistle-stop background of the film. I will braze through it because it probably won't be news to anyone.
I'll tell you now, it's going to be news to me because Aaron's obviously seen it before because it's one of his favourite films. James, I don't know if you've ever seen it before.
Yeah, multiple times. It's a classic. Absolutely love it.
This was the first time I'd ever seen it. I'd never heard anything about the background. I don't know who directed it. I don't know who wrote it. I don't know anything about it. I literally went in blind as hell. I saw it. I'm excited to hear the background.
Excellent. All right. Yeah. Well, I won't dwell on it too much because I think that it's such a fascinating film with a lot of layers, like Will said, I've seen it, I reckon, over 10 times now. And this time, most recently watching it, there was still things which I was thinking about and like themes which I was working through in my mind. And I still noticed things that I hadn't seen before. And like I said, this has been like over 10 times that I've seen it now. So there's a lot to talk about in this film. I won't dwell too much on the trivial background stuff. However, it was written and directed by Martin McDonagh. He was London born to Irish parents. So you'll notice obviously strong Irish accents in the film, Irish characters. There you are. There's that link there. His career began in theatre, however, he turned his attention to film in the early 2000s, and his first film, Six Shooter, won the Academy Award for Best Live Action Short Film. It was released in 2004, it won that award in 2006. In Bruges was his first feature film. It released in 2008 and received critical acclaim and financial success also. Off the back of that, he went on to write and direct Seven Psychopaths in 2012 and most recently Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri 2017. Will, did you know that?
I did not know that. Everything just kind of clicked together.
Yeah, right.
I've seen Seven Psychopaths and Three Billboards.
Yeah, for sure.
That makes sense.
I mean, it's a small catalogue, but very good. Like,
Yeah.
like really good films.
Very strong.
Right? Yeah. I remember, I mean, the year that Three Billboards came out in 2017 was such a strong year. And because, going back to when we were working at cinema, that was about that time. And I remember making the effort to watch all of the Best Picture nominations for that year. And you had like Shape of Water, which was also a banger. There was Phantom Thread, which was quite good. What were the other ones that came out that year?
The 2018 Best Picture nominations were Three Billboards, obviously, The Post, Phantom Thread, Lady Bird.
Yeah, it was a super strong year, wasn't it? Like,
Get Out, Dunkirk, Darkest Hour, and Call Me by Your Name, and obviously Shape of Water, which won the award.
Yeah, man,
that's a very strong lineup.
I mean, that's such a strong year. Like, and like I said, I remember we was working at the cinema at the time, and it was a great time to be working at the cinema. Mm-hmm. You had all these films coming out, and there were a fair few there which had a shout at winning Best Picture, like you said. It was Shape of Water. However, McDonagh did pick up an Oscar. I believe it was for Best Original Screenplay. Can we fact check that? Sorry.
Sam Rockwell won Best Supporting Actor, I believe.
Yes. So Sam Rockwell won Best Supporting Actor. McDormand, what's her name?
Frances McDormand.
Was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, or Best Lead Actress, and I think she might have even won.
No, she won. Sorry, yeah, hang on, I was wrong about that. He was nominated for Best Original Screenplay. Sorry about this, guys. This is pretty cringy.
He was nominated for Best Original Screenplay, but unfortunately he lost out to Get Out by Jordan Peele, which I think, fair.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So yeah, Three Billboards, yeah, it came out that year. Super strong year. And in terms of, while we're talking about Oscars, it did actually pick up two. Frances McDormand got the Best Performance by an Actress in a Leading Role. Sam Rockwell, Best Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role. Both terrific performances, of course. And McDonagh himself was nominated for Best Original Screenplay. And there were a host of other awards that was nominated for. So yeah, really has done well. He's got a strong repertoire of films behind him, although not many of them.
I think that's a very interesting point, having not many of the films, and I really like it when directors and writers do this, of having one or two actors that you see across their whole catalogue of films, but are consistently brilliant. Sam Rockwell being in Seven Psychopaths and Three Billboards, Colin Farrell being in Bruges and Seven Psychopaths. Extremely different roles, but absolutely fantastic. And I think you can see across the writing style, particularly between Seven Psychopaths and In Bruges, the similarities and the dry, short wit. I'm surprised about Seven Billboards. I did not know there was a link there at all, but I think now you look at that, look at the bigger picture.
Yeah. Seven billboards.
Seven billboards.
Three billboards.
Seven Billboards.
Three.
Seven Psychopaths.
Seven. There's too many.
Three Psychopaths outside Ebbing, Missouri.
In one Bruges.
Three. It's definitely a testament to how confident you have to be in someone's directing and writing abilities. If they've only written and directed a handful of short films, writers and directors cut their teeth for years before they even make a feature length. And even when they've made a feature length, to get it considered for awards, really difficult. And getting a production studio to agree to sign on all these big actors who come with them big paychecks, it's a big risk and a big payoff. 3 films, big casts in all of them, 3 bangers. It really is a testament to how good he is.
Yeah. So he did have a pretty strong career in theatre before all of this experience now that he's got in film. And in his first film, Six Shooter, like I said, that came out in 2004, that actually had Brendan Gleeson in it, who plays Ken in Bruges. The premise of which, of course, as we all know, is after a job in London goes wrong, these 2 hitmen are sent to Bruges to await their orders after to find out what's going to happen with them after the job went wrong. Simple question to start with. What did you think of the film?
Sorry, I was looking at another tab.
Brilliant.
I just assume Will always goes first.
No, come on. It's not like you got anything else to do right now. Take your time. Look at your other tab. You know.
I was seeing if Brendan Gleeson did Harry Potter before or after this, and the sort of the price tag that would come from him playing Mad Eye Moody going into In Bruges, like would that have upped his value as an actor or less?
Well, I've got a big note about Harry Potter actors.
So one of my questions for later on was, and we can do this now if you want. Okay, guys, quick question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Test your trivia. I'm sure you'll get it easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the link between these actors, other than the fact that they were in Bruges? Colin Farrell, Ray Fiennes, Brendan Gleeson, Clements Posey, and Kieran Hines. What is the link?
I think I will hazard a guess that they were all in Harry Potter. When I was watching,
hold up,
Okay.
slow down, sir. Was Colin Farrell in Harry Potter?
Dude, this is why I'm doubting it.
He was in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
He was part of the franchise. That's the answer we were looking for.
I
sir,
apologise. The franchise.
No, you got it. You got it. Of course, you got it.
The problem with all these franchises dominating my childhood and film literacy growing up is now whenever I watch a film like this, I can't help but be like, it's Fleur Delacour. That's Voldemort. That's what's the guy from Fantastic Beasts? No one can remember because that was such a bad film.
Percival Graves.
That's it.
Percival Graves, right?
Well, it's actually
that's his name.
Gellert Grindelwald pretending to be Percival Graves, but you know, we'll you got a boat. You
like
got a
you said,
half
I cannot remember that film like at all.
Very forgetful.
I've seen that film. I do not remember that film.
I wrote down when I was watching the film. I wrote down Grindelwald ! Fleur ! Hagrid ! And then quickly. Well, I say quickly. About 20 minutes later, scratch that out because I realized it's not Hagrid. It is a bad idea.
It's definitely not Robbie Coltrane. That is Hagrid's name, isn't it? Robbie Coltrane.
Yeah. I couldn't tell. I just got excited ahead of myself.
Mad Eye Moody. But if we're talking about caliber of actors, I think if we're talking about acting off the bat, both incredible performances here from the lead. Well, three from the three main characters. I think Colin Farrell, I think Brendan Gleeson, and Ray Fiennes were all incredible in this film.
I'd agree. The only person, actually, I think most, if not all, the cast were incredible in their individual roles. Obviously, some had more chance to shine than others. There was one performance in particular that I was just watching, and I couldn't help but they hammed it up a little bit too much.
All right.
And that is Jordan Prentice, who plays he doesn't play the dwarf, he is the dwarf who plays Jimmy.
Yeah.
I just felt like whenever he was on the screen, it was like a little bit too much. But then I realized that a lot of dwarf actors, they kind of come into the field playing characters where they have to be very bodily and very big and extra. You think about Warwick Davis playing Wicket in Star Wars. I looked up this guy's IMDb. He actually played Howard the Duck. So
Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck
Wow.
from the Marvel film.
Oh,
So
right.
it kind of explains why he was very big and extra. But I just thought that...
Well, remember as well that he
was particularly very funny, though.
He was funny, and you remember he's playing an actor in the film.
Yes.
So he will likely have those theatrical flares about him. Right, let's sort of go back a little bit and let's talk about the film. Let's talk about the film in the way that it could be read as a character study. We've touched a little bit on characters there. If you look at the inspiration behind the film, there was an interview with Film 4 with Martin McDonagh, Colin Farrell, and Brendan Gleeson. McDonagh said that the inspiration that he took from the film, it came from a trip that he actually took to Bruges himself a few years before the film came out. He said that he was, first of all, struck by how cinematic the place was. But he said by the middle of the second day he was there, he was bored out of his head, is how he put it. He said outside of the sightseeing, you know, all the Gothic buildings and that sort of thing, which we see in the film, there isn't too much to do. In his words, he just wanted to get drunk or get laid. And it was this that led to this conflict in his mind as he sort of saw two sides to himself, two characters, if you will, one of which he labelled the culture lover and the other the drunken whore. So if we look at these two characters in the film, you would say that Ken is the culture lover and Ray is the drunken whore. So you see these two characters straight away and sort of the conflicts that come with them. If we're looking to break down the characters and what it is that defines them and the particular sort of personality traits that the film focuses on, you could definitely argue that it it centers around these characters' moralities, where they sit with each other, how they conflict, and also the consequence of breaking these moral codes, and that sort of thing. So I just wondered what you guys were thinking about the two main characters and how they interact with each other, and also the thought of morality in the back of your mind.
I definitely got the sense that the whole film was very cynical. Like I said, this is the first time I've seen it. I went in completely blind. I didn't even know what kind of genre this film was, if you would call it that. First of all, I was surprised by how funny it was, but I suppose we'll get to that later. I was struck by how cynical the whole thing was, with the whole idea of you've killed a kid and now you're taken to the most beautiful fairy tale like town. It's described as the most well-preserved medieval town in Belgium. I didn't know how the plot was going to go, and I was really surprised that they kind of were lying low there. When we're talking about the characters in particular, I really like the kind of dichotomy between the two, the more elder, more experienced assassin, or whatever line of work they are in. They never actually really say what their line of work is.
Yeah, you would just...
I think we can assume they're assassins, yeah.
Yeah, hitmen, like guns for hire, that sort of thing, yeah.
But Brendan Gleeson's character I was particularly struck by, because everyone kind of refers to him as a spaz in the film, and everyone kind of, he's kind of a bigger, older guy. I was surprised that someone like him is still in that line of work.
I was going to bring this up a little bit later in terms of, we're talking about morality here.
Yeah, sorry, the structure is all over the place today.
No. You actually scrap that. Let's keep talking about characters. I'll bring that up later. Yeah. So pick up from where you were saying about Ken, Brendan Gleeson.
I was really surprised that someone so kind of old and lumbery, and I'm not saying he is old, but I was surprised that someone like Brendan Gleeson was still in that line of work. And towards the end, they kind of hint to that. He says that he's done fighting. He just wants to let Ray go, all those kind of things. It makes me kind of question how someone like that gets into this line of work anyway, which is a really good sign of good writing.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, even at the end of the film, you still have a lot of questions, and the film exists in the short window of time in which it takes place. You don't really know much about what happened before the events. I mean, the earliest thing you know really is about the job that went wrong, about when Ray accidentally shot the little boy. Before that, we don't really know much. And I think for me, like, the most interesting thing about the characters is not only do we only know them within this short window, McDonagh actually does a really interesting job of forcing us to challenge our moral code. Because how many times when you're watching this film do you find yourself like rooting for Ray, rooting for Ken? But we forget that we're not really supposed to like these people. They're killers, and the jokes and stuff that they make throughout the film, certainly not PC. They're like, they could be read as being like very offensive, not the sort of thing that you should be going out and saying. We're not really supposed to like these people, and certainly not really supposed to identify with them, could you say?
For sure. And it's very interesting, because I wrote down a note of whose side am I supposed to be on, because I thought at first, obviously, you just kind of go along with the protagonist. That's the way the film is set up. Then I was kind of thinking, well, if he's killed a kid, he kind of does deserve this punishment. Then I realized that the person who's dishing out the punishment is someone who set it up in the first place. He's obviously not very good. I started trying to look at the side characters, and even they are robbing tourists, selling drugs.
Yeah, exactly that.
No one's
exactly
good.
that.
No one's good.
Literally the only, I was thinking about this morning, the only character who is, I think, good in this is the lady that runs the B&B that they're staying in. The one that runs the inn, the pregnant lady. Like, everyone else has something, like the dwarf whose name I've forgotten.
Jimmy.
Yeah, so everyone else, Jimmy, he, for example, is incredibly racist when he's talking about the war between...
Dude, that made me laugh so much.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing. Like, there are these really, really awkward situations, and we touched on political correctness, and there's certainly a disregard for it here. Let's say when Ray, for example, plants one on the chin of a woman. It's hilarious.
But I found it so interesting that these characters, like you said, they've got pretty bad morals. You're not meant to identify with them. You're meant to think they're quite bad people. Yet they all still have lines that they won't cross.
But that's it. Yeah, exactly that. So this is the crux of it, is that they It's so weird, isn't it? Because there's a conflict. Like I said, they have a strong and strict moral code that they stick to, and if they break it, they live and die by those morals.
Mhm.
Okay, but this moral code and this moral system is built in a way that allows room for them to earn a living by killing people. Something that outside of this world we would say is fundamentally wrong, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you even get that sense at the start of the film when the priest is incredulous. He's like, "You killed someone for money." Ray says, "Yeah, I didn't do it out of anger. I didn't do it out of whatever." He says, he just said, "I just needed the money."
Exactly.
People like that exist. People like that are always going to exist.
Exactly. And we've got to remember whose code this is, by the way. So this is all coming from Harry, Ray Fiennes' character. He's the boss, so it's his code, it's his doctrine that Ken and Ray have to live and operate by, right? And because Ray, albeit inadvertently, broke Harry's code, he has to face the consequences of that. But like you said, when he's talking to the priest in that job, he says he's just doing it for money. Now, by virtue of the situation, that then must also be part of Harry's moral code, is that there's room for you to make a living off of killing other people. It's just a case of so that in itself makes you question, okay, there's this moral code that they live and die by, but is it good? Like, is it, you know?
Harry's clearly the boss, and he clearly has a big, nice house and a big, nice family. He clearly is quite good at what he does in this operation that he runs. But going back, and I'll probably edit this so it was a bit before, but going back to what you were saying about hitting a woman, even Ray is like, I would never hit a woman. I'm only, it's a bit different if she's holding a bottle and trying to swing at me.
Yeah.
And then even the pregnant lady, she has a moral code. She says, like, we're not doing violence. I'm going to sit here. You can take it outside, all that stuff.
And they do take it outside as well. Like this is the thing, they take it outside. So this is what I'm saying. It's like, it's weird that there's these strict codes, like you don't kill children, you don't put women in danger, for example. Let's sum it up like that. But you can go and kill people for money. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's what I'm trying to get. What I'm trying to get at is that there are, within this moral system, there are morals which they stick to strictly, which are right, and you should uphold, of course. You don't be violent towards women, don't be violent towards anyone ideally, but don't be violent towards women, and don't kill children, of course. However, like I said, for Harry and for Ray and Ken, it's okay to kill people for money.
So I was wondering if their code and their job is, we only kill the target and that's it, and because they are the target, they've done something wrong, we're paying them back and we're getting paid for it. There's the justification. I wondered if it was a sort of situation where if it doesn't have to be a woman or a child, if it was anyone, any collateral damage, then you've ruined it. But then at the end, you see Harry running through the streets taking pop shots. Could have hit anyone.
Yeah, well,
and obviously it pays off. Yeah,
exactly. So I think the ending is so good, like so good.
See, I'm glad we started talking about the characters before we went into what did you think about the film, because I loved the film. I didn't like the ending.
No,
for one particular reason.
Okay.
I wrote in my notebook, I was incredulous when I saw it. I wrote down, what was Harry thinking shooting him in the middle of a movie set?
Yeah.
Where there are cameras and witnesses.
Yeah.
That does not make much sense to me.
Well,
and obviously, suspension of disbelief, mirroring the star, it rhymes, it's like poetry. But even if he didn't shoot anyone else, what did he expect to happen? He knew there were people around. He walks past them.
If you look at the morality, though, this is going back to the conversation we've just had. In his head, Ray has done wrong. He has killed a child. He needs to pay for that. And he's projecting his morals onto everyone else. And that's clearly how it has been for him. He's projected it onto Ray. He's projected it onto Ben. And he's made a career of that. So running through a crowded street, and if he was to give a reason, he would say that, well, he killed a child. It would be all right. And he would project those morals onto whoever questioned him about it. So in his head, that's never going to be an issue. So I think that's why he had no aversion to doing that.
That's a very interesting point. And let me just tell you this, guys. So there was actually a scene filmed which wasn't included in the final cut.
A deleted scene.
That's what they're normally called. Yeah, I just went the long way around. I don't know why. I just went the long way around to try and make myself sound much smarter than I am. You see a younger Harry, portrayed by none other than Matt Smith, Doctor Who. Yeah,
Love that.
right?
Love Matt
Yeah,
Smith.
yeah. So he is in I think like a club in London or something like that. And you go into the back room, and Ken is a younger Ken is there holding a dead lady, like and there's another lady in the room, and Harry goes, "What happened? Who did it?" And she says, "Who did it? Who killed this woman?" And it's like a corrupt police officer. He walks into the police station, like right into where all the other police men are, with like a machete, and just decapitates this guy, and like his head comes off and everything, and that's it. Like,
See, if they left that scene in, I feel like I wouldn't have a problem with the ending, because the rest of it, very whimsical and fairy tale like it is, I thought I could suspend my disbelief enough that I could be like, well, this could happen in this universe. When I saw that, I was a bit like, that seems really out of character for the head of the League of Shadows assassins. You know what I mean? But if they kept that in, it would have explained a lot.
I think what that scene would have shown, if anything, certainly would have been just the lengths to which he will uphold his morals, and also the fact that they've been set in him from a young age, so it's something that he's sort of carried throughout his career. On top of that, that he is a man with incredible unseen power that we don't understand or see in the film, because to be able to go into a police station, do that, and then still be operating to the success that he is, as we see in the film present day, clearly he must have some fingers in some pretty juicy pies, you know?
Absolutely.
But the ultimate reason why that scene wasn't included in the film was that the decapitation just looked way too fake. It's hilariously bad. Like, it's terrible.
Can you see this scene anywhere? Is it like on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube. Take a little pause here, give it a watch. I think just type in Bruges Harry Young.
Deleted scene
like
Harry came up with it.
Yeah.
No, that's just Harry on train. It's a scene of Harry sitting on a train.
No.
Deleted scene with Matt Smith.
Let me
Here we
find
go.
it.
No, I've got it.
Yeah, that one.
Because Ken mentions that his wife was killed, and Harry.
Yes, but he also mentions that his wife was black, and she isn't in this. So I don't think this is his wife.
God, look at that hair. I feel like I'm watching it through a kaleidoscope because it's so blurry. So, yeah, that does look pretty bad. I feel like if they sped it up a little bit, it would have been better.
Well, I don't know whether that clip on YouTube, I don't know whether the person has slowed it down or not. Like, I'm really not sure. But yeah, it looks.
I don't think it looks too bad.
I think it looks very comical.
Hang on, I'll sped
and
it
I
up.
think for the impact that scene would want to make.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Because the film's comedy isn't really slapstick, would you say?
No, it's clever writing for sure.
James is cackling away there.
Oh wow! It was the swipe noise.
Yeah.
I've put it on ×2 speed, and that clip still looks just dreadful. Like, it's not too good.
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked. But it's interesting to talk about, because I do think that when we talk about the context of morals, Harry in particular, I think it does give a little bit more insight and background. Right. So do you guys have anything else to say in terms of characters?
I mean, I have a theory, but I feel like it encroaches on the wider theory.
I'll talk about setting in a minute, and the significance of setting. That's what I'm going to move on to now.
Just one final thing on characters. I wrote down a couple of notes as I went, obviously. I thought the Canadians were very funny portrayal of Canadians.
Yeah, right.
And Colin Farrell, he's just so good in this role.
Mate, he's tops, man, honestly.
I just wanted to give him a little shout out. You know, he needs it from me, to be honest. But
yeah. He could really do with the boost.
Yeah, and he does. Like, I don't know if this was just me watching the film and reading it in a strange way, but I definitely felt like the character he was playing, Ray, was like ADHD, because at the start, I just saw myself in everything that he was doing, saying things that he didn't mean or were coming out the wrong way, doing things kind of impulsively, kept changing his mind, couldn't just sit still like in the hotel room.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's very interesting. He's certainly unstable in a few ways, isn't he? Like, of course he
Aren't
is.
we all?
Well, absolutely fruitly, aren't we all? No, I think I think that's an interesting way to put it. Obviously, I have no personal frame of reference for that. You do. So the fact that you've seen and made that link, I think that's really insightful.
Thanks, you're welcome.
Oh, my back. Ow, it just clicked.
You need a chiropractor, dude.
Oh, God. I was about to say I can't afford it, but I can.
All right.
I'm just lazy.
Whatever you say.
Did you hear that? Did you hear the click?
No.
Oh yeah, I heard that.
That was my pen.
Oh.
No, that might have been when you go back and edit that. See whether
Alright,
you can
I'll see it.
isolate those
Yeah.
clicky wicky.
Hey, it's me from the future. It was a pen.
So yeah, plenty of depth, plenty of conversation that could be had about characters, their character types, and morality. And I think that's why when I was talking about the film right at the start, I introduced it as it could be talked about as a character study. Bruges as a setting plays a huge part in this film and its deeper meaning. A YouTuber, Nerdwriter1, he has a video essay called Morality and Dialogue on this, and he talks about it in fantastic detail. It's very concise, very easy to follow. So I totally recommend going and checking that out.
I just recommend all of Nerdwriter's videos. He's incredible.
Yeah. Very, very good. So to bring his thoughts into our discussion and try and build on them a little bit, when watching the film, when reflecting on the film, consider Bruges as a setting as a sort of purgatory for Ken and Ray. James has his hands in the air and just slapped his head, so I'm guessing this has rung a bell with James.
He did mention he has he said I have a theory.
Yes.
A minute ago.
I'm so chuffed.
But well, this is absolutely fascinating, right? So let's go back to the moral code really quickly and talk about it in terms of narrative and bringing this theme of Bruges as purgatory into it in the middle, right? So at the start, you have the act of breaking the moral code, which is Ray killing of a child. Harry sends them to Bruges, where they sit and they have a period of awaiting their judgment and the consequence of breaking that moral code. For them, Bruges is purgatory. At the end of the film, you have the judgment, you have the consequence when Harry visits Bruges and he exacts his judgment. Now, talk to me a little bit about that analogy. I also want to touch upon at the end when Harry makes his judgment. What happens? What happens to Ray? What is the consequence? What is the judgment?
So this was my third time of watching In Bruges, and I'd never thought of it before. I just saw it as what it was from face value, that they were going to Bruges for the ultimate execution of Ray. It was only when you mentioned before watching that there was a theme throughout this that you'd never heard of, and I was like, okay, I'll make a conscious effort to look out for this theme. And it was when they were in the chapel looking at the file of blood. I can't remember what the name was called, and they mentioned purgatory there, and that was at that moment it clicked, because the way they describe it of being this place that is neither here nor there, it's sort of beautiful, but it's also sort of crazy with all these random events and random people and suffering and deciding all around them. And that was when it clicked for me. And looking at that sort of the stage of morality of, you understand why Ray is there, but why is Ken there? What has he done to place himself in purgatory?
Exactly that. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, again, I think it's open to interpretation. As Will touched upon earlier, he's at probably the latter stages of his career, and he does come to a crossroads of sorts in the film towards the end, when he decides to put Ray on a train and send him away, right? So he's made a judgment there in his own right. If we're talking about, go back to the dichotomy between the two characters, Bruges is Ray's idea of hell. It's Ken's idea of heaven. The culture lover loves the culture of Bruges. It could be a sort of heaven to him for Ray. It could be a sort of hell. It's where Ray meets his end. It's where Ken comes to a moral decision to pack that life in, do the right thing for him, which is send Ray away, not to kill him because he's done with that. He's not fighting anymore. He's absolving himself. I think that's Ken's position in that sort of allegory, if you could say that.
Well, and I do wonder with Harry's position and the fact that he's been to Bruges before. So if we are looking at this film as Bruges is purgatory, we decided that that is what Bruges represents. Harry's been there, what did he say, when he was 6 years old? So it makes you question why he's already been there, at what stage of his life he's already been there. And then the reason I thought of that is because perhaps Ken and Harry have been there their whole sort of lives in purgatory. They've been waiting this whole time. Ray has finally come to the stage in his career where he's killed a child and he's now in purgatory, and they've been waiting for him. And that's when they got to make that decision.
Well, by virtue of their line of work, they've spent their whole lives dancing along this line of morality, right? And one side or the other, whether that's, I guess in this situation, you'd say one side or the other, you'd say heaven or hell or whatever. They're going to be teetering on the edge, aren't they? Because they're playing with that. They're playing with morality all the way through by virtue of their career. So I think that's really interesting. I think that's really interesting that you bring up the fact that Harry had been there when he was a kid.
Harry has been there before. Harry's the one that goes there to kind of finalize the judgment on the two characters. Harry, as the leader of assassin group, kind of the angel of death.
So James mentioned the vial of blood in the cathedral. Was it a cathedral? Chapel. God, I'm so bad at that.
A church. They're all the same, let's be honest.
A church, yeah. Religious vessel. Place of worship.
House of the Lord.
House of the Lord. Well, I mean, everywhere's a house of the Lord for me.
Not my room. No God allowed. Sorry.
Wow. That's pretty weird. So, yeah.
All right, I'll cut that one then. Fine. You know, they don't have to be hits. Some of them can be misses. It's perfectly fine. It's natural.
I thought you were going to hold up the laugh sign if you wanted us to laugh. The cue card.
Listen.
I'm sorry.
I remembered this wasn't it's not a visual medium, so maybe that wouldn't work as well. But
I should have laughed. I'm sorry. I feel bad now.
That's okay. I forgive you.
Talk about sort of religion and religious connotations and stuff. There are clues, codes, cues, stuff like that, which hint towards this theme of purgatory. As James mentioned, it was the vial of blood. I think perhaps the biggest device for this is in the form of the Last Judgment triptych, Hieronymus Bosch's triptych, which is seen when they visit the Groaning Museum. As I'm sure you guys will remember, the triptych, centrally it depicts Jesus raining judgment and punishment over those below him. On the left panel of the triptych is heaven, and on the right panel of the triptych is hell. Right? So again, that talks back to that moral tightrope that we were saying, the dichotomy between Ken's character, Ray's character, the dichotomy between their ideas of hell, their ideas of heaven. There's a few binary opposites and codes of that ilk throughout the film. And this triptych serves to be a historical, empirical visualization of that dichotomy, right? Okay, so the final scene that we have talked about features an injured Ray stumbling through these characters on the film set. And if you look at them, they're dressed as though they could be right in the middle of Bosch's painting, right? They are all, they look like they could come straight out of that scene.
Mm-hmm. They're all like plague doctors, rat people.
Yeah, precisely, right? So, Will, you said Harry is the angel of death. If we put it in context of the Last Judgment triptych, he would be Jesus in that scene. He's playing God to an extent, right? He sets the moral codes, and he is the one that decides and ultimately executes judgment. So what do we think of that?
That's so clever.
Right?
That's so deep. We've all tried our hand at writing films before. I can't imagine layering
I could only dream.
that. Yeah, I just can't imagine how much brain power it takes to weave such intricate metaphors in. And even then, to make them subjective. It's easy to make a metaphor objective and be like, this is it.
Yeah.
it's so hard to
Well,
make a theory in a written work.
Absolutely, and ultimately the ending is completely ambiguous.
Which I loved that.
We don't know for sure whether Ray dies or not, or whether he lives. We don't know that. So, like I said before, I love this film. The first time I've seen it over 10 times now. I still love it. But when I was reading up and when I was thinking about it more, and all of this came to a head for me, it's just put the film on a different caliber, like a different caliber of pedestal for me, because this is fantastic. And I'm so happy that in talking about it with you guys, you appreciate that as well.
I'm happy to be here. Honestly, I'm just happy to be involved.
Yeah, and I think this really this answers the morality of Harry and how come Ray and Ken get to be in purgatory, because you would assume that their job is to kill people. They should automatically go to hell straight away. But if Harry is the one deciding who goes to heaven and hell, surely got to align to his morality. Ken and Ray were going to go to heaven, weren't they? Like, Ray was getting on the train to leave. Ken was going to stay in Bruges, a place that he loved. That's their heaven. Until Harry actually comes down, if you could say comes down from heaven, I don't know, to actually make this decision. That's him visiting Bruges and being the decider of that. But then I think this is the thing that brings me onto a theory that I'm still questioning in my head. All through this podcast, I've been thinking about it. Is the child that Ray kills in the church actually a child, or is it a dwarf? And that's why he isn't automatically sent to hell. Because if he'd killed a child, surely he wouldn't be put in purgatory. He'd go straight to hell. He shouldn't have the decision weighed up.
Well,
so I'm wondering if the child wasn't actually a child and it was actually a dwarf in the real life. The dwarf's been put in purgatory because he's waiting. Then Harry kills him, and then
Do you know what? The thing is that makes perfect logical sense. I just don't think that's the case.
It's definitely not the case. But that
fuck you.
Because that would explain why Jimmy is there and Jimmy dies at the end as well. Only 4 characters die at the end: Harry, Jimmy, Ray, and Ken.
We don't know whether Ray dies.
Correct. Yes. Sorry.
Well, I would like to.
Did he kill a child?
Look, I mean,
or did he kill a dwarf? Huh?
Let's write the writer a letter and ask. I don't think anyone's asked that before, James. Honestly, I can honestly say I don't think anyone has had that thought before.
No, well, the thing is, I think it's quite well rounded, because then that takes me on to more child killing. Is the pregnant hotel owner there because of abortion?
Oh my god.
I think this is a metaphorical purgatory rather than an actual literal purgatory.
Which is
go through every single character. Why is the Canadian?
Why are they in purgatory? Yeah. Why is every single member of the population of Bruges currently in purgatory? What have they done that needs judgment exacting upon them?
That was my point about it's so easy to write an obvious metaphor. It would have been so easy to do that, but because it's so subtle. But I do find it interesting because you said, James, if he's killed someone, surely he should immediately go to hell. In the Bible, it says, number 1 rule, thou shalt not kill. But killing is defined so weirdly by, the Catholic Church, by different churches, different people, different countries. Because, you can kill a criminal. That's perfectly fine in some countries, some it's not. In the Catholic Church, over 1,000 years in the past, they were killing Muslims in the Middle East and they saw it as a good thing. They were burning people thinking they were witches. They said it was a good thing. Murder doesn't inherently mean bad thing in this context, I guess. So it is only when it's a child who's an innocent, that's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah, interesting.
That's an interesting point. And I think that my brain is so big because I've now worked out why the mum was in purgatory.
She said, well, okay, yeah, fine. Just because we're taking for granted that she was in purgatory.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, go on.
Mum and the baby died during pregnancy, and that's why she's in purgatory. She's awaiting her fate.
She does say on her little letter, I'm not the receptionist, I'm the co-owner with my husband. Where's the husband? We don't see him.
Yeah,
it's the husband. You never see the husband. He's not in purgatory because he's still in real life.
Because he didn't die in childbirth.
No.
I'm starting to see
this
clicking into place,
Go on, Jack.
Fuck yeah, man. Right. This is
in that case, this episode acts as an open letter to Martin McDonough.
And one final nail in the coffin for this metaphor. What is ketamine also known as?
Horse tranquilizer.
Tranquilizer.
Angel dust.
Right, I wouldn't know that because
I don't know if that's true, but there's definitely a drug. Let me Google it. Angel dust.
Let's go on Urban
That's
Dictionary.
drug.
That is news to me.
Go on Urban Dictionary, see what angel does.
Angel dust is cannabis
it's
mixed
cocaine.
with tobacco.
Oh, that's boring.
It's a white powdery drug cocaine. Angel dust.
Yeah, I thought it was cocaine. That's the devil's dust.
Which is what they do.
I thought it was cocaine.
Yeah, I know that.
That
Don't say you don't learn anything.
that's all gone into place, and that is canon in my head. I can't think of where to bring this note, but I just wanted to ask. I've never done cocaine. I don't know if you boys have ever done cocaine, wank, but does cocaine make me racist? If I have cocaine, will it make me believe in Helter Skelter?
Does cocaine make you racist?
No.
Let me ask Jeeves. Sorry, Alexa, does cocaine make you racist?
Let me ask James.
No, I said Jeeves. Oh, Alexa, pack it in. I didn't actually want to know.
All right.
Nah, I was racist before cocaine.
Oh my god.
That's a red. Is that red
That's
or a
red.
yellow?
No, I'm keeping that in.
That's
That's
all
a
not
red,
red.
I think.
I'm keeping that in.
Oh no.
And I wrote down a joke that I was meant to bring up earlier with my ADHD joke thing, so I'm just going to say it now, and I'm going to edit it back. When I was saying it, I find the character relatable.
Do you want us to laugh?
Yes, please. He says, "Can I have a gay beer?"
Yeah,
That's an IPA. I drink IPA. Nothing is more relatable than that.
right. I drink IPA.
An IPA is a light lager. It was a light lager.
Yeah, he calls it a gay beer.
Didn't
Don't
say it's
they
an
pretty
IPA
much
though.
just have they have blonde beer and dark beer out there,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah,
think
they
pretty
don't.
much in better like that's pretty much the I don't know. I'm not that well versed in the types of beer.
And gay beer, apparently.
It is nice. It's nice.
Oh, and speaking of setting, Bruges and Belgium in general, I did want to just share a little story with you guys. So there's a section in the film where they're at the dinner and Fleur Delacour and Gellert Grindelwald are talking, and he says that Belgium are known for chocolate and like child molesters or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
I just wanted to share a story that when I was 14, I went on a school trip to Belgium, and some man on the street, we went to Brussels, not Bruges, but a man on the street was trying to sell us chocolate.
Okay.
We said no.
Are you all right?
I'm fine. I said no, but I just
No,
thought
but it's not funny. No. If he was trying to sell you chocolate, was he just a
it was like a
vendor of
proper
chocolate?
no, because it wasn't like a chocolate shop or a Willy Wonka style fancy get up. It was a man in a big coat who went, "Do you want to buy some chocolate?" And he like, opened it up like this.
A different kind of Willy Wonka, right?
Also, you say that Belgium's famous for chocolate and child molesting.
I don't say that. They say that.
Direct gospel quote verbatim from William.
I didn't say that. The film said that.
I don't know. Does that make that further bolsters the purgatory argument?
No, it doesn't.
Why? What are you talking about, man?
Purgatory is full of what? Chocolates and child molesters?
Yeah, how do you think chocolate's produced? Kills all the rainforest, baby.
No, James, idiot. No, the chocolates are like a waiting room in the doctor or wherever where they have like sweets on the desk. They have chocolates in Belgium because they're like the sweets on the desk of the receptionist while you wait.
Yeah, nice.
Open your eyes, man. Come on, it's right there.
They're waiting because they're going to go to they're going to go to heaven. The child molesters are going to go to hell.
Right. Yeah, exactly. If we may just round the discussion off in like a nice way that actually sort of like finishes our points and takes us away from chocolates and child molestation.
Happy on chocolate and child molestation.
I know you are. Right. I'd like to talk about, for me, one of the saddest, most beautiful parts of the film when Ray takes the change from the pocket, the change which he was originally trying to pay his way up to the tower with. He takes it out of his pocket, scatters it down, throws himself off the tower as to alert Ray's attention to let him know that Harry has arrived in Bruges. I mean, that for me is the event representation of Ray taking his morality into his own hands. He says, "I'm done. I'm not fighting," and he makes the ultimate sacrifice to put in place the plans that he had for Ray and for what he wants the outcome of Ray's judgment to be. For me, when I first watched the film years ago, that was the bit which stood out the most to me. Obviously, it's shocking when he actually hits the ground and you see sort of blurred in the background, you can see that his like bits of his arm has come off, and that is gruesome. But the soundtrack as well, Down Raglan Road or whatever it is that starts playing when he's like climbing back up the stairs, it's actually like beautiful. It's so sad.
I wrote down just like Dumbledore in Harry Potter's sad face.
Right.
But then I remembered he wasn't Hagrid, he was Mad Eye.
Oh, it was at that point. Right. Brilliant. So you're thinking that Hagrid this whole time is running around Bruges, yeah?
Correct. Yes, accurate statement.
Excellent. Cool. Well, but
I did really like that, and I kind of didn't really understand what was going on with the coins,
Mhm.
and then I realized it was him trying to like warn the people below to
yeah, clear a space.
look up, clear a space,
Yeah.
which again is him thinking about others more than himself.
Right. Yeah.
And then I really like the line, "I'm gonna die now." I think
Yeah. Yeah.
that with the whole "I'm not fighting," I think I'm gonna die now. Like it just shows that he's like accepted who he is, and he's ready to move on.
Yeah. Complete acceptance. Like I said, taking his life into his own hands, making the ultimate sacrifice in the best interest of, the sort of newfound morality that he has, and what he wants to happen to Ray, in spite of Harry's moral code that he's operated under for so long. I think it's absolutely stunning, to be honest with you.
I think it's also quite a sad story in the fact that despite his best attempts to save Ray and follow the path that Ken was choosing for Ray, there was nothing he could do about it. Despite his best attempts, Ray is still shot. Ray still suffers an unfortunate end, and I think that's
it kind of ties back into the purgatory metaphor, because it's like it doesn't matter if you, I guess, regret it or try and change your ways, you're still going to end up in Bruges having to face your final judgment.
Well,
he gets on the train, he comes straight back.
Yeah,
he can't escape
because it wasn't his time yet. It wasn't his time yet for the judgment to pass on him. Would the pivotal turning point for the ultimate outcome for Ray potentially have been when Harry thinks that he has just killed a child, he has the gun ready to pull the trigger, and Ray tries to stop him? Is that the turning point for Ray, where his judgment might have changed? Could that be what happens to him in the ambulance? Could that be the difference between him dying or whether he survives, in the fact that he tried to stop Harry in spite of everything from killing himself?
Ray fundamentally is a flawed character, but when I said earlier he still has his limits, it's still true. He tries to stop Harry shooting himself. When Ken hits the ground, he instinctively turns. I'm really sorry, I've forgotten the lady's name, so I'm just going to say Fleur Delacour again. He just Chloe. He instinctively grabs Chloe and kind of turns her face away so she doesn't see it. He's very protective of people, which again it's strange why he's in this line of work. Neither of them really suit it, I guess. But for sure, I mean, that could be the moment when it's like, all right, well, he has learned his lesson. Because even then, when he shoots the kid at the start, he shoots the priest. He doesn't seem like he's done it before.
That was his first kill.
He's very messy, and then when he shoots the kid, he obviously is upset. So what my point is he's clearly not a bad guy, despite everything.
Well, no, and he spends the rest of the film in a state of complete like a downward spiral about it. He like has multiple breakdowns. He goes to kill himself before Ken can even attempt to kill him, and that scene in the park when he's on the bench. So he's quite clearly torn apart by this. I suppose slight sideways step. I wanted to ask you guys, and we don't need to keep this in because it might be a bit of a dead end, but why do you think that Harry sanctioned the kill on the priest? Because we're never told. We sort of just take for granted that Ray has been informed to kill a Catholic priest. Why do we think that is?
Child molester.
Right. That is probably the go-to thought, right?
You'd assume so, yeah.
Yeah.
Catholic priest. Harry's clearly defensive about kids.
Precisely that. Yeah, I think that's the kicker for me, isn't it? And the fact that Ray brings up child molestation in Bruges as well could be another hint that this is something. But I think the kicker is Harry's clear protection of children and his strong morals against any harm falling their way.
I know we've got plenty of examples, but one further one being when they're in Bruges outside the bar, Harry and Ken, and says, "You're cunt kids," and he says, "No, take that back." He can say anything about him.
Yeah.
He can say anything about Harry being a cunt, but if you call his kids a cunt, then it's one step too far.
For sure.
And even when he's back in the house and he's smashing up his phone, and his wife says it's an inanimate object, he's like, "No, you're a fucking inanimate object." So I think that's my favorite line in the whole film.
Best line, dude. That's so funny. I love that bit. It always cracks me up. Guys, that was a really good chat, and I actually think that there were still parts of the film that I needed to talk through to properly appreciate, and this has given me the opportunity to do that. Thank you. Before we sign off, I would like to hear what you guys would rate the film out of 5, please.
Yeah, I gave it a 4.5, and that is a strong 4.5 as well. Along with, we sort of going full circle here, talking about Madonna's...
Madonna? Who's Madonna, man?
How do you say it?
Look at Madonna.
Martin McDonough.
Madonna. Okay, right. I know we're going full circle here, but looking at Martin...
Fuck off.
I'm gonna piss myself.
Okay, sorry.
It's so funny.
I know we're good. I know. Ooh, right.
Sorry, give me a second. It's just like being in class, nothing's changed. That's a good sign.
Yeah, I know we're going full circle here, but looking at the directors, I can't.
Fuck's sake.
I even muted myself.
Oh, can't believe we're doing this.
I'm sorry, Aaron. And on this, the day of your debut podcast.
Shut up.
God, I feel sorry for the editing on this. Okay, cool.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Right, yeah. But going full circle here, looking at the directors' catalogue of films, and they're all falling in a similar rating for me. I believe I rated 7 Psychopaths 4 out of 5, and 3 Billboards 4.5 as well. And yeah, I think this completes his sort of catalogue of really successful films, and I can't say much more than that. 4.5. Absolutely loved it. The script was fantastic. The writing, the way it looked, the themes that we've discussed, everything about it, the character choice. I love Colin Farrell anyway, and I think he was a perfect man for the role.
I would completely agree with you on everything you said on rating as well, and on ratings of McDonough's other stuff. It just makes me really excited for whatever he's got next. And I think there is something else in the works coming out next year. So I don't know much about it. I don't know whether there is much about it out there. If form is anything to go by, it should be another banger. Will, what did you think in terms of a rating for the film?
I was really strong. Let's try again. I don't know what just came over me. I'm really sorry. I started crying.
That was so funny.
I was really torn between a 4 and a 4.5. I think I'm leaning more towards the 4.5. Definitely not a 5. Definitely not a 3.5. It was really funny, and that took me by surprise. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I went in completely blind. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the story was. I didn't know anything. I found it probably one of the funniest films I've watched this year.
Yeah.
And, we're a week away from December, so that says quite a lot.
Yeah, it is hilarious. It is absolute. Like, for all the deep intertextuality and stuff that we've talked about, it is, on its surface, an absolutely hilarious film.
For sure, I think it is officially my favorite Christmas film.
No.
Because it is a Christmas film. It takes place at Christmas.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Die Hard. I'm going to say yes.
You haven't seen Die Hard?
Yeah, I've seen the bit where Alan Rickman falls. I've seen it all.
Oh, he's dead. Rest in pieces.
Alan. Another Harry Potter, anyway. Yeah, I loved it quite a lot. My closing thoughts, kind of on the whole situation, is kind of just going back to that suspension of disbelief that I was talking about. Now, speaking about the film as a metaphor for purgatory has kind of opened my eyes that maybe it doesn't really matter. But I think context helps a lot when you're watching the film. You don't know anything about it. First time viewing, you need to keep the watcher in the reality of the film. Now, I don't know a lot about guns, and I don't know a lot about falling from a tall building, but I just feel like what I do know about guns comes from my knowing of history, which is, and this has changed because we're not living with like old muskets anymore. But when you shoot someone, it blows out their back and they die of blood loss pretty much immediately. In this film, there are at least 2 cases of a character being shot at least 5 times and then continuing to walk and be fine for a bit. They die. Ray might not have died, but the priest, he stands up, he hobbles away with a massive hole in his chest, and then Ray gets shot through the chest on the boat. He manages to hobble through the movie set, and again, it is a mirror, and I appreciate it for that sense, but I just can't see. And someone jumping off a building that high and still having the ability to talk, I think I'd be a bit winded, to be honest.
Nice. But I think I know this has the potential to open the whole conversation up again. But if we are saying that Bruges is purgatory, it's not real life. It's not the real world. It's not the physical world. So perhaps there is this sort of added element of being able to survive. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, think about how in the phone call between Harry and Ken, the first time that we hear Harry speak, think about how they talk about Bruges. They call it like a dream place, don't they? Is it like he's in a dream?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that is where the suspension of, like a fairy tale, that's right. Sure. Yeah. Maybe that's where the suspension of belief comes in, is you have to take that as maybe a little bit more literal than it originally comes across, is that in this Bruges setting in the film, it is a little bit like a fairy tale, a little bit like being in a dream.
Does anyone know what year this film is set in? Because everyone seems to be using pretty old landline phones and no one has like a mobile phone. And I think if you did have a mobile phone, if this isn't purgatory, if they had a mobile phone, it would have solved the problem about 9 times quicker. At least 9 times.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think it again comes down to the whole fairy tale dreamlike thing. We have to suspend some of our belief and real life knowledge for the sake of the film and the message that it's trying to convey. And I think the fact that it might not be anyone's immediate thought until they start thinking about the film critically and picking it apart, the fact that we don't notice these little, you couldn't call them plot holes, but these potential pitfalls for the film aren't blatantly obvious when you're watching it, is testament to the strength of all the other elements of the film that we've talked about today.
Yeah, and maybe it's just where I'm quite cynical. I'm watching a film that's very cynical and then nitpicking it, but that is what it is. It's nitpicking. The film is incredible. I think I'll give it a 4.5 out of 5 for sure. What about you?
Oh no, yeah, as I said with James, I agree. 4.5 easily. I could gush about this film forever, and I will be watching it plenty more times. Yeah, excellent. So thank you so much, guys. I'm really glad you enjoyed the film, and I think we had a nice discussion about it. So
very nice. That was a strong start from Aaron, and if I know anything about the kind of films Aaron recommends to me, I think we're going to be in for a couple of treats.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'm curious because it's James's turn next, so I was wondering whether James has got something in store for us.
Indeed, I think that's a brilliant discussion. I think we covered so many points there, and I think that's what makes a film stronger. Is diving into these sort of nuances and morality and the setting and the character arc and all these little things just build out the film and make it a better experience, I think. And I think this is what takes me on to the next edition of There's a Pod in My Boot, and the one that I'll be hosting. The guys in the call, we will be doing Wes Anderson's best film, I would say, Grand Budapest Hotel. And I was torn with this one because I was tempted to do a film that none of us have seen, maybe like a new release on Netflix or something, and really challenge ourselves to talk about it. But I think we can talk the shit out of any Wes Anderson film. There are so many layers to it, and they are so fantastic. And
Yeah,
I thought, why not kick off with that one? It's one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for that. I've only seen it once, and it was a fair while ago. I think it was when it came out. So
same here. I've only seen it once. It was in 2019 when Isle of Dogs came out. I watched it then as well.
I remember enjoying it, definitely. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it again. That'd be cool.
And it's a good prep for The French Dispatch, which is coming out next year.
Cool. All right, thanks, guys. Nice one. Good chat. I'll see you all on the next one.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Upwards and always.
That's how
To infinity.
That's the
and
way the news goes.
Nice, yeah.